So if this is the first time you're tuning in here on TV6, the name of the show is called Home Front. My name is Rome, and this is a brand new TV show where we discuss all of the various issues that affect all of us during this pandemic for life on a whole. And right now with us, we had to bring her back on set because she did such a great job and we got so many reviews in terms of what was happening with the online school. We want to welcome again Miss Anne Clark. She is a primary school principal. And the last time you were here, Miss Clark, welcome again on Home Front.
Thank you.
Last time you were here, we were discussing online schooling, and we talked about some of the disparities that may occur with the rural kids versus the urban kids, the financial situations at some of the homes, and then we spoke of some of the issues that we were facing as some of the parents would face with the children and the teachers as well. So today we want to stress a little bit more, not on the problems, but on some of the solutions. So let's start with you being a principal. What would you recommend? What could be done? What would you recommend to the other principals in a time like this?
Okay, so firstly, lots of principals can form themselves into groups, okay? Because thank God for WhatsApp.
Right.
You have WhatsApp groups where you can sort of realize that you're not on your own, and you can glean from them lots of information that, oh, I can try this. I can really improve on that. And if we will come together as principals, we will get ideas, and then we can actually see how we can pass this on to our teachers, because quite frankly, the teachers are the ones who are being driven each day, you know, and they need the support. So the support is always there from principals, and I think the more principal realizes this is what is going to help my school, I think that is the way to go. They should incorporate the help of psychologists, and some, you know, Ministry of Education has social services as well, where they can offer to public schools. Private schools, you can employ different programs, and you can actually see where it helps principal, teacher, child. So the bottom line is, as a principal, I can definitely, A, have like a WhatsApp group with my fellow principals, the colleagues. B, I can host in my staff meeting, I can start doing lots of fun things in the staff meeting. Sometimes it's not always business as usual.
Right.
Because let me tell you, it's a stressful period.
Because I think when a principal calls a meeting with his staff, I think it's both coming.
Oh. Wrong. That's the wrong impression. But to be quite honest, it's business you discuss. You discuss how you're rolling out certain things, what you need to improve. But to be quite honest, in this season of COVID, I think for myself too, I'm realizing that I need to host some staff meetings that are different.
Yeah,
so they're out of the box in its thinking.
Okay.
So there's a whole relaxed thing. I'm depending on my coach to do that, some of that. But I mean, other principals are being very creative. I heard some schools are having little parties online.
Zoom party?
Yes.
All right. So shouts to all the Zoom parties taking place with the principals out there. And you mentioned supporting the teachers. So what would you recommend for the teachers?
Well, again, the teachers, as I say, they are the ones day-to-day interacting with these children online. And, you know, as much trained as each person was, nobody was really trained for this period. And they're doing a remarkable job. But again, you have to offer support. And if the support is even to get the social services involved, if it is that we have to just sometimes give a day off, you know, off screen. Give asynchronous work, because there is now the synchronous, and the children know all these new terminologies, so they know narrative, they know navigating, they know asynchronous. So if you say off-screen time and you have asynchronous work, you will see them go, yes, because for both teacher and child. Because
they do like non-academics. When you say asynchronous?
Asynchronous work will be just off-screen time, so that you have now the old-fashioned textbook that you can go to and do numbers 1 to 10, and then on page 65 you do 1 to 5, you know, and you do asynchronous work. Or you can listen to you can watch a video, or you can listen to some audio that a teacher would have done. You know, teachers have become quite creative, so you can actually give a lesson, you can talk the lesson, the child listens to it. So that's asynchronous. You're not interfacing with the child then, you're not teaching on screen. So you can also sort of weave that into your system and get, yes. And
so what about non-academic stuff? because we're dealing with both primary school and secondary students, and sometimes they could be consumed with just work, and then they're not getting a chance like how they would get to interact with their friends.
True.
And break time, snack time, as they used to call it, and lunch time, and play. How do you factor this in with the teachers getting the students to interact with one another without me saying, hey, or let me quiet, or let me make a noise?
No, there are the times that mics are open and you hear screaming. So you have sometimes pajama days, you have dress down days.
Right.
Yeah, so you have little creative ways of getting the children to unwind, and the teachers too are not really monitoring the children, but it's a fun day. And then the children are just dying to share stories with you because, again, they are missing the social aspect of life. So some of them will be jumping around and having a good time, while some will be miss. You know, I lost 2 teeth, or miss, I had a visit from my grandmother, or, you know, and they want to just have that narrative with you that is not really going to be tested, corrected. Nobody corrects your grammar. You just speak
the social side of things. Remember,
side.
they are children at the end of the day, and they want to interact with the others. So I'm glad that you said that, because I was always wondering how that was taking place. If the teachers were putting that social side of things.
Quite a number. We need to inject it more. That's for sure, because as this 3rd term is here, this is the Trinity term, and this term is like the end of the year. And this term is a tough term, sorry. So the term in itself carries weight of stresses, but we are learning, and I think it's something that we should all put under our belts, that we need to continue having lightness of fun times, because let's face it, the numbers are going up and up, and children are hearing this as well, and they are going through their own stresses. So they need those fun times, or asynchronous times, or as you say, it's just not any work at all. So the child is not even off screen only, the child is just probably on screen chatting with another buddy.
And what about the parents? What do you recommend for the parents in this time? It's difficult for them. What recommendations would you have for parents?
Well, I believe that this time happened for us to just bond. You know, as families, we just bond. The child has work to do. The child has been given work to do. You lend support. Dress back on yourself too. You need to de-stress. Some persons are just all wound up trying to render too much support, and they have to realize these children are capable. So parents need to sort of de-stress. And how can they do that? The very same way that we were just discussing with the classroom, the Zoom rooms. They now in the home have to realize, hey, let's take a drive in our country. Let's do something. Send a message to Miss and say, or sir, my son won't be on because we are going out to the country.
Right.
They need to de-stress, because the whole country is going at a pace of COVID numbers, COVID statistics, and it's pretty frightening for all. So again, I will always recommend that school and home as bond, because sometimes parents get that extra little support and comfort when a teacher reaches out or the principal reaches out. Sometimes it just makes you feel we're in it together.
And we spoke about all of these things, but I know that SEA is a big thing for primary school students. They work towards that. How is this pandemic going to affect those students in particular, preparing for a big exam that could determine which secondary school they go to?
It's such a high-stake exam. We will need one will need a crystal ball to know what's going to really happen this year, because this is the first year children are going to be writing an exam wherein they have never been in their classroom at all. At least 2020, they were almost there.
Right.
But 2021, they have not been.
This is what I'm thinking.
So you have the frustrations of the teachers, firstly. You have the fears of the children and their parents, because this is really unknown territory. How are they going to cope is anyone's guess. We have strong children, as I say, in this society, and the strong ones will forever survive. But it's that catchment there in the middle, the average child who can either spiral down or up. They're the ones that you sort of worry over. How are they actually going to cope? I will be optimistic. I will say teachers have worked hard. They have put out a lot. They have rolled out their classes as best as possible. So in the main, we should get a good crop.
Right.
Yes.
And have you seen any mental effects on these students, not only the SCA students, but in general, because of the change of their environment from being in a physical school now to an online environment? Have you seen any children being depressed? Or
Absolutely.
You did?
Yes. It is seen. It is spoken about. No one likes to talk about it, but it's happening. The truth be told, there are some children who cannot cope with this. You know, it was okay probably until July, August last year, 2020. And then they was probably hoping, like when I asked the question, how many of you thought, I remember asking this question in January of 2021, how many of you thought that we would still be online?
Yeah.
You know, the average, everybody said, no, miss, we thought we were coming back in September. So the truth is, they still dealt with it well, but there are some, and I see it in my own school, you have some children who are just extremely sad. I don't like to use the word depressed, but that's what's setting in. And then we will host meetings with their parents, as I'm sure all schools are doing, just to let them know what we are seeing. There are children becoming very emotional. Yes, it's a tough time.
And we spoke, and we touched on this in the last episode, and a bit on it in the beginning of this one, where we were talking about the disparity between the rural and the urban areas. And I know that I was hearing the saying of no child to be left behind. So are there any recommendations that you would have in terms of closing that gap with the rural kids? What could we do?
Well, I think quite a number of private institutions already doing their best to give devices, but I think service providers just have to dig in more. They have to come together with the Ministry of Education and see how best they can sort of bridge that chasm that has existed, because you have children who are really without any schooling whatsoever. And how do we close that gap? I think the Ministry of Education has to be a little bit more forceful with the private entities and let them step up, especially the service providers that we have, to not only give the devices, but to see that our connectivity is real and deep enough. It's not an easy task. There is no one size to fit all. One has to really examine it from different lenses to see what particular group, what particular country area, what particular rural area will need what. Because the needs of the child in, let's say, deep Matlot will not be the needs of a child in Sandy Grande, although Sandy Grande might be still described as rural, because I was actually in Sandy Grande not too long ago and I saw lots of children walking around the streets. But then I go through Port of Spain and I see lots of children on the streets when it's supposed to be school time.
Yeah, and that's not rural. Port of Spain is definitely
correct.
not
So there is
rural.
a disconnect that's happening that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I am always concerned about that, because I know that the more fortunate children will have the devices and they would have the access and the connectivity. And then I look at the less fortunate and the rural children and I say, a lot of, especially because of the SEA exam as well, where you have children competing against each other for places in secondary schools and who wants to go to their first choice and their second choice. And I'm watching this year and I want to see how it will unfold in terms of SEA, because I'm wondering if they are all competing now on a level playing field, seeing that some don't have connectivity versus some who would, and then you're going to give them the exact same exam, not based on their rural aspect or their urban aspect or who had connectivity or not. You're going to measure everyone based on one exam. So it's just a bit of food for thought, and I don't want to put that on you again. That's for the Minister of Education and the ministry to deal with, but you can breathe us a
You
relief.
are so right. They are offering deferrals though. They are offering deferrals for 2022. They are actually saying if your connectivity was poor, if your devices were not there, you can in fact apply to sit next year.
Okay, so that's at least that's one aspect of being able to deal with it. But, and finally, to wrap up, what do you think the nation could do?
Oh Lord, as a people, Trinbagonians, we just need to, as the Prime Minister says, behave ourselves.
Right.
I like when he says behave ourselves. He sounds just like a principal or a teacher. But the bottom line is, I think we need to really get serious, especially for our children's sake, because education really never took place in a classroom only. Education is something that you breathe and live. That's the syllabus, that's it right there. That the home teaches, the street teaches, the classroom taught. So if we were to really buckle down and learn as adults to model to our children like the 3 W's, they keep saying, watch your social distancing, wash your hands, wear your mask. So right now we are doing it here.
Yeah.
I think if as adults in the nation, we really model that to our children, we will definitely help our nation to get back to true education. That will take place in the home, take place on the street, take place in the school.
Yeah. All right. So you see, you're not only getting both from the Prime Minister, you're getting both from the principal herself.
No.
Well, we're not buffing. We're just reminding of what we already knew, right? So this was our Homefront episode with our principal, and we want to thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Clark, once more. And you mentioned the word breathe, and it triggered in my head mindfulness. Let's breathe in the positivity, breathe out the negativity. It's time for your mindfulness moment.
Welcome to this mindfulness moment. I invite you to close your eyes. Feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Notice your back against the chair. And just begin to notice your breath. Now picture a mountain in your mind's eye. That mountain is strong, solid, and stable. No matter what the elements are, the changing weather, that mountain is still standing strong. And you can be like a mountain too. So breathing in, say, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, say, I am solid and I am strong. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I'm solid and I'm strong. So that's today's reminder to be here now.
All right, and we're back from our mindfulness moment. I hope it puts you in a space of serenity, peace, and calm. So today we discussed a lot with Ms. Clark, and we want to thank her once more for joining us here on the Homefront. And for all of you parents out there that are dealing with the children at home, I hope you learned something today. I hope it opened your eyes a little bit more on what the children are facing, as well to the teachers hanging there and the teachers, the parents, and the principals. You all hang in there. We appreciate you all for the effort that you're putting out in these unprecedented times. My name is Rome. This is Homefront here on TV6, and we have some special people to thank. Before we go, we want to thank Dwellings for giving us this beautiful set. We would also like to thank our PED CARES Foundation for giving that support to the pediatric department right there in Mount Hope, and they also support all of the other departments as well. They support the kids, and what we need you to do is to support them, the PED CARES Foundation, because the money that you would donate to them, because I'm going to make sure that you donate some money today, right? You just keep on donating and keep on supporting them, so that we can have our pediatric department in the hospital to be world class, even beyond the international standards, right here in Sweet TNT. This is Homefront. Catch you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Great again. Excellent. Excellent.